In today's video, I'm going to be going through the good, the bad, and the ugly of owning a game day condo or just a game day rental in general. I'm Phil Duke Jr. with eXp Realty, also known as the Duke of Northport, and I appreciate you checking out my channel. And in today's video, again, I'm in the real estate business. I'm not going to ever, just make videos, trying to convince you to do something you don't already want to do. What I am going to do is I got some really good notes here, and I want to kind of go over some things maybe you haven't thought about. Maybe you're watching this channel and you're thinking about buying a place here, maybe for your kids that you could use later as a game day rental, or maybe you're doing like a lot of parents do, and they send their kids here to school and they themselves buy a property that they can stay in while they're here, while they're visiting the Tuscaloosa area, and then they rent it out when they're not using it, right? Hopefully, help pay for itself, or maybe even make some profit, right? So I want to share some of that stuff with you. And no matter where you're at in the process, one of the best things that you could do would be to go down to the comments below, find my calendar link, and reach out to me. Let's schedule. You can pull up my calendar. You can schedule a time for us to have a phone call or a video chat to discuss what it is that you're thinking about doing, and I'll give you even more insider info than what I'm going to give you in this video today. So let's start off with the good, right? If you're watching this video, you're thinking about going that route. Maybe you've come to Tuscaloosa and you've stayed in a game day rental before, right? Maybe you saw how much money it costs, particularly on a prime weekend, right? And you thought to yourself, like, I could own one of these things. Well, here's a couple good things about owning a game day rental as an investment property, right? Number one, I put on here, there are a lot of big revenue weekends in Tuscaloosa, right? Typically in the falls, we have 7 Alabama home games, and some of them are better than others as far as how much revenue, how much demand there is, right? If we've got an opponent coming in that doesn't come to Tuscaloosa very often, right? I can think of like a few years ago, Texas played in Bryant-Denny Stadium. There was a ton of Texas people that came here because, like, when's the next time they're going to come to Tuscaloosa, right? But then you also have nearby rivals who come into town, that are within driving distance. Like Tennessee, it's within driving distance. Knoxville is maybe 5 hours away. LSU about 4 hours away, give or take. Georgia is within a couple hours. Obviously, Auburn is 2.5 hours away, maybe 3 hours away, depending on which way you go. And so those games bring in big time revenue, right? So you can actually, in a lot of cases, you can make more money on a game day rental than what you might be able to if you were doing a traditional, long-term 12-month rental. I have seen that, be the case quite a bit in the Tuscaloosa area. And that brings us to number 2 on the good is, there's typically less wear and tear on a game day rental property, right? People are only there for a few days. Most of the people that I know that do game day rentals will tell me, like, the people come in from out of town and they're barely there, right? They're out on campus all day. They're going out to dinner. They're going to a concert at the amphitheater on Friday night. They're mainly there just to sleep and take a shower and get ready for the next day, right? So, you don't have some of the problems that you would have as a traditional landlord where people, are living in a property for a year. The dogs are tearing up the property for a year. The kids are tearing up the property for a year. The tenants are tearing up the property for a year. One of the appealing things about, owning and operating a game day rental is that they're only going to be there for a few days. You're going to make a good bit of money for those couple days, and then a cleaner is coming in behind them to clean up whatever mess that they did make, okay? So that's some of the good. The last good that I put down here is that Tuscaloosa is becoming more than just a college football town, right? We saw, earlier this spring, we had the Morgan Wallen concert. and that brought in a huge crowd. There were Facebook posts, all over the place. Who's got a place where I can stay? And if you had a property that you bought to rent out for those 7 Alabama home game weekends, you just got another weekend. And I would imagine, based on the success of that weekend, that there will be, more of those coming up in the near future, right? We also have, other sports that are successful, right? I mean, Alabama men's basketball is starting to draw in more of a crowd, right? They've made the tournament and done well in the NCAA tournament for several years now, since Coach Nate Oates arrived here on campus. Softball's competitive, gymnastics. So really, what started as a way to make extra money in the fall on those game day weekends has now really turned into more of a long-term thing, right? You also have graduations in the spring, in the summer, and in the fall. You have parent weekends, you have sorority rush, you have Easter weekend, like all these weekends where there's more people coming into town to visit. Tuscaloosa is becoming more of a destination, right? Like let's go visit Tuscaloosa for the weekend instead of going to Nashville, right? Let's go down to Tuscaloosa. We can catch this concert on Friday night. We can go to the baseball game on Saturday, and then we can fly home on Sunday, right? I mean, that kind of stuff is happening more often, and I think it's just going to get even better going forward. Now, to the bad. Some of the bad things about owning a game day rental, a short term rental, period, especially in the Tuscaloosa area. Number one, they're more expensive to furnish than what you might think, right? I've helped several people recently who have bought properties that were turnkey. The furnishings were included. That was very appealing to them. We didn't have any appraisal issues, right? If the contract's written up the right way, you can have personal property be included in the purchase price as long as it's written up the right way. So we were able to do that, right? That might be 20, 30, 40, $50,000, depending on how nice you go, right? Depending on how big the unit is. Again, it's more than just, I'm sitting in a chair right now here in the office. It's more than the chairs. It's artwork on the wall, right? Like that's an Alabama photo there. I got, some Alabama stuff right here. I've got Alabama stuff on all the walls. That stuff adds up, and it's not cheap, right? So that's something to think about if you're looking to purchase a place. Beds and mattresses and all these kind of things. They really can add up. It's cost you don't have on a traditional rental, right? And you also have, in addition to like just getting it started, getting it furnished initially, you're going to have higher monthly costs because you're going to be paying for the power, the water, the gas, if there's gas there, the internet, the subscription services, whatever streaming service, maybe, on the TV, if you're going to provide that for the people that are coming in to visit. Those are all things you don't have on a traditional rental, right? In a traditional rental, the tenant signs the lease and they go to the power company and they go to the water and they go get internet and it's in their name. And if they go and have a huge, power bill one month, or they have a huge water bill one month, that's not on you, right? It's on them. But on a short-term rental, on a game day rental, those are extra costs that you're going to have to factor in, okay? You're also going to have last-minute cancellations, right? Just part of doing that, right? Some people have traveler's insurance, some don't. Different websites have different cancellation policies. You can think that you're all booked up for those home game weekends, and next thing you know, 2 big ones, you lose somebody at the last minute, and you could possibly get somebody to replace them. But a lot of times, people that are coming into Tuscaloosa for the fall, they've already got tickets, months in advance. And when they get those tickets, they go ahead and book a room months in advance because they know how difficult it is. So it might be hard to find somebody to replace that last minute cancellation. You also have, depending on the platform, do your own research on this, but you also have refund and review problems, right? People, it's kind of something that's going on, I think, more with Airbnb than with VRBO. Again, those aren't the only two. There's other platforms out there where you can list your property, but I know in particular they tend to overall take the customer's side of the story than the property owner side of the story. So you could have somebody come in on Thursday and stay Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leave Monday. They could have a great time. The property could be in great shape, and they can say there was something wrong, and they may or may not get a refund for that weekend, right? Very, very frustrating, I would imagine, to have that happen. And then lastly, if this is something you're thinking about exploring, maybe you've got other properties, or maybe this is, something that you're thinking about doing as a first property. You like the idea of not having the wear and tear and being able to stay in it yourself, right? I would just say, depending on which way you go, as far as whether you're going to self-manage or hire a manager, there are people out there that manage short-term rentals and game day rentals. Owning game day rentals can typically not be as passive as other forms. So I personally, right, I'm a real estate investor. My goal is to have 100 units. I don't have 100 units yet. I got a ways to go before I get there. I don't know that I could have 100 properties that were game day rentals or short-term rentals, right? Because people check in, they get there at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., they can't get the internet to work, the coffee maker's not working, the internet's not working, the air conditioner's messed up, the water heater's leaking, uh, you know, and they're going to be messaging people through the apps, hey, I need some help. Hey, I can't get the internet to work. And for me, imagine that times 100, or even times 10, right? I don't know many people that have more than one or two or three of these short-term rentals. There probably are some, but I would say it's much less because it requires more work. It requires more interaction. It's not quite as easy as like set it and forget it the way that other forms of real estate investing are. So it's just one of the reasons why I have chosen to stay away from it. I see the numbers. The numbers are appealing, but I'm trying to go big, right? I'm not trying to just have one or two or three properties. I want to have a bunch, and I had to pick a business model that was a little bit more passive than what short-term rentals were. So just one more thing to think about. And again, my calendar link is below. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, I would love to talk to you about what it is you have going on, what it is you're thinking about doing, pros and cons, and I'm about to give away some insider information on this video, but there's a lot more insider information I can give you based on your particular situation. I would love to be your real estate friend in Tuscaloosa. I'm helping people all day, every day do this stuff, and I've been doing it for a long time. So we've talked about the good. We've talked about the bad. Let's talk about the ugly side of running and operating a short-term rental or a game day rental in the Tuscaloosa area. I attend some real estate investing masterminds or seminars. It's something I listen to. Certain podcasts, certain people on YouTube about real estate investing in general, and it seems like the overall consensus is that for a while there, being a short-term rental owner was very lucrative for a lot of places, and it seems like the demand has died down a lot nationwide. Okay, so I think for a while there it was kind of on the up and up. Maybe that was the way you wanted to go. Right now, it seems like it could or couldn't be, right. I would say right now for the Tuscaloosa area, it started off as something like there wasn't many hotels in this area for a long time. The hotels we did have were kind of out right off the interstate. They were old, outdated, didn't have good reviews. Maybe was not even the place you really kind of wanted to stay unless you just had to. And so what happened was people started renting out their personal homes. Hey, I'll go to Nashville for the weekend. I'll go to the beach for the weekend. I'll go visit grandma for the weekend, and let a stranger stay in my house. And I'll make $1,000 a night on some weekends. And I'll do that, and it kind of became a way for local people here to pay their mortgage payment. Right? They could rent it for those 7 home weekends, the home game weekends, and they could make enough to cover their entire year worth of mortgage payments or more. And then kind of the second phase of that, we saw people starting to buy properties that are sitting there empty all year other than the times that they're rented for a short-term basis. And I think we've seen probably more of those hit the market than what we need, honestly, in this local area. Now, there's always going to be a demand for location and close to the stadium and within walking distance, right? There's always going to be some of that. But what I've seen is like where I'm at in Northport, I'm in my office in Northport, right? Tuscaloosa's on one side of the river, Northport's on the other side of the river. I've seen people on this side of the river maybe go all season and not even get any bookings anymore. Because I think so many more options have popped up around the stadium, around downtown Tuscaloosa, in more prime locations. And people say, if I'm going to pay a bunch of money to stay somewhere, I'm going to stay down there in the middle of everything, not 15 miles away from it, right? So, that's just one thing to think about. And I will tell you, for sure, there are some neighborhoods and there are some developments I could show you, data-wise, that are getting 2 to 3 or more times the number of bookings than other similarly priced units. So location really does matter a ton when it comes to this. So I think we might have more of them than what we need right now, mainly because we still have people renting out their own personal houses that they live in, and now we have people buying them specifically for short-term rental. So I think there's actually more of them than what we need. And then lastly, one thing that's hurt a little bit as well, okay, I mentioned for a while there we didn't really have great hotel options in this area. But if you drive through downtown Tuscaloosa now, there are a lot of new nice hotels in downtown Tuscaloosa. So before, if you were coming into town to visit, your child at the university, or if you were coming into town for a job interview, and if it was you and 2 or 3 other people in your household, one hotel room might not be good enough, right? So you're going to go find, a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom Airbnb. Well, now with all of the new hotels that we have in the area, particularly within walking distance of campus, that has started eating into some of that short-term rental revenue as well for people that own those properties down there, right? If I can pay, $150 a night and have breakfast included and have somebody come in and clean my room while I'm out for the day, again, it's going to be hard to get a hotel during those 7 home game weekends. Nearly impossible to get a hotel during that. But if you're coming off season, if you're coming during the week, if you're coming in the winter, you're coming in the spring, you're coming in the summer, and you're just coming into town to visit for a night or two. Maybe there's a concert at the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater, and you also want to go to a gymnastics meet or a baseball game, which both all those are going on right now. You might just stay at a hotel for 2 nights. Save some money. To maybe spend more money going out to eat or on the concert tickets or to upgrade your flight or whatever the case might be. So that's been a little bit problematic as well, right? We want those hotels to do good. We don't want them sitting there empty, but those hotels are taking bookings away from people who bought properties specifically for. Now, do some people just absolutely not want to stay in a hotel? Yes. But I would say there's a lot of people who are going back to the hotel now, right? For a while there, it was cool to go stay at a custom house, a custom apartment, a custom city loft or whatever. I think more and more people, with this economy being the way it is, have said, you know what, a hotel wasn't too bad. Hotel's not the worst thing in the world. Let me find a good hotel. And right now, there's a lot of new options down in the downtown Tuscaloosa area. But like I said, also, we're starting to have more year-round events. So on some of those bigger events, those hotels are going to get booked up. There's going to be a need, right? That's how this whole thing really got started in Tuscaloosa, was there wasn't enough hotel rooms. People were having to stay like an hour or 2 away to find a hotel room. So people started renting out their personal homes. Now we kind of maybe have enough or more than what we need. But again, on those big events, the Morgan Wallen concert, everything was booked up, right? So if you're looking at buying one of these, there's going to be more opportunities to capture, you know, bookings than just the football weekends, which is kind of a newer concept. And then lastly, there's talks of the college football playoff expanding and adding more teams. And again, some of those, even right now under the current, 12 team format, some of those first round games, I believe all the first round games are home games. Somebody's getting the home and somebody's getting the away based on what their seating is, and so that could be an eighth home game, or if it goes to 24 games, who knows? There could be one or two rounds of college football playoff games here in Tuscaloosa, which would be even more bookings. So I hope you feel like you got some information from this. If you did, comment below. Would love to hear, your thoughts as well. I'm Phil Duke Jr. with eXp Realty, the Duke of Northport. This is the Living in Tuscaloosa County YouTube channel. Thanks for checking out this video.